So let's start from the very first point. That is the LOX-COX pathways and the synthesis of these eicosanoids, means prostaglandins, leukotrienes, and thromboxane A2, how they are synthesized. First, let us discuss these points. You know, our cell membrane is made up of the phospholipid bilayer. Phospholipid bilayer. Now here we have phospholipid, this is the phospholipid. And here we have the enzyme responsible to act on these phospholipid, known as phospholipase A2. The name is indicating phospholipase, okay? This phospholipase will come and it will interact with these phospholipids. After their interaction, they will produce the arachidonic acid from these phospholipid. And now this produced arachidonic acid is a kind of very wonderful substrate for the enzymes like cyclooxygenase and lipooxygenase. Means these both enzymes are responsible to act on the arachidonic acid. What is going to happen when the COX interacts with the arachidonic acid? Remember, we have COX-1 and 2, two types of the COX enzymes, and they're available in the entire body, okay? Now, the COX-1, consider if it interacts with the arachidonic acid, it will produce the prostaglandins and thromboxane A2. And if the COX-2 interacts with the arachidonic acid, it will produce the prostaglandins. And remember, COX-1, COX-2, both are actually producing the prostaglandins. The COX-1 is producing thromboxane A2, which is not produced by the COX-2. And both the prostaglandins have got different functions. Before we move towards the functions, let us know about the products of the LOX pathway. According to LOX pathways, when LOX enzyme, lipooxygenase, mainly 5-lipooxygenase, which when this enzyme interacts with arachidonic acid, it will produce the leukotrienes. Leukotriene B4, leukotrienes C4, leukotrienes D4, leukotrienes E4. First of all, the leukotriene B4 is produced. After that, the leukotriene C4, then the C4 is actually a kind differentiated into C4, D4, and E4. That's it. Means these all the leukotrienes are produced by means of the LOX pathway. When the lipooxygenase interacts with the arachidonic acid, it will produce these leukotrienes. And when they are produced, they will find the receptor and then they will show their actions. So like this, we got both the pathways that according to COX pathway and LOX pathway, the prostaglandins, thromboxanes, and leukotrienes are produced. Pathways are cleared. Now let's come towards the actions. Prostaglandins produced through the COX-1 are responsible to do the vasodilation, mainly renal vasodilation. When those renal blood vessels are dilated, then the blood perfusion is a kind improved, which is beneficial. And it is responsible to secrete the mucus, mainly in the GIT, in the stomach. This mucus in the stomach is responsible to protect the stomach from the acid secretion within the stomach and the acidic food that we take. Now, when these all acidic conditions are created in the stomach, the mucus lining present in the stomach is actually protecting the stomach lining from this acidic conditions, okay? So like this, it is a kind of protective barrier for these all stuff present inside the stomach. So mucus is actually produced by the prostaglandins in order to protect your stomach. And the same prostaglandins are responsible to do the anti-platelet activity. Means it is actually acting like an anti-platelet factor. Whereas thromboxane A2, they have got the job that is vasoconstriction. They're actually constricting the vessels. And thromboxanes A2 have got another job that is platelet aggregation. So thromboxane A2 and prostaglandins are actually somehow maintaining the homeostasis in the body. It is acting like a platelet aggregating factor, and prostaglandins are acting as an anti-platelet. It is doing the constriction, vasoconstriction, and whereas the prostaglandins are doing the vasodilation. So like this, these are actually maintaining the homeostasis. In short, the prostaglandins produced by the COX-2 are responsible to maintain the pain, fever, inflammation. Now these are the actions of the COX-2. And regarding the lipooxygenase pathway, the leukotrienes produced, they are responsible to find the receptor present on the smooth muscles of the bronchioles. Now these leukotrienes, when they find the receptor, they will interact with the receptor, they will stimulate the receptor, and then the job of this receptor is to cause the smooth muscles contraction that will result into bronchospasm. Along with that, this receptor is responsible to stimulate eosinophils or eosinophils. Now when these eosinophils are stimulated, these are further responsible to release the protease and some more leukotrienes. PL, I'm writing here, P protease, L leukotrienes. Now here we got leukotrienes from the LOX pathway, leukotrienes from the eosinophils, along with that we got the proteases from the eosinophils. So as a whole we got leukotrienes plus protease. Leukotrienes are responsible to do the bronchospasm, and the protease released from the eosinophils or the eosinophils are responsible to cause the tissue damage. So generally we have the bronchioles of this emitter. When these are released, leukotrienes and protease, the leukotrienes will cause the bronchospasm. They will decrease the diameter. Along with that, when the proteases are released, they will cause the damage of the tissues. So this they're actually going to destroy our airways. Okay. Now we just cleared the COX pathway, LOX pathway, the production of the prostaglandins, thromboxanes, and leukotrienes, their actions. Now it is time to move toward the next point. The mechanism of action of the aspirin.